This is Andrew Hogue here on Heavy at Home, supporting Australian music here on andrewhogue.com every Monday night from 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We do have Dana from Sydonia out of Melbourne, recently released their long overdue album Reality Kicks, currently on an Australian tour. And I want to talk to Dana all about the album, why it took so damn long, and are they super happy with it. So welcome to Heavy at Home, Dana. How you doing?
I like it was extremely long awaited, and why did it take so long? That was your leading question. And why it took so long because we got really busy. Yeah, we got busy with tours and we got busy with life in general. But there was also other stuff like working with people. Such as, we were working with Laura Richardson, and she manages a producer called Colin Richardson, who's done like things like Slipknot and Bullet for My Valentine and things like that. And we were working with her. Colin Richardson did a song, produced a track for us as like a love job. They were trying to help us sort of get up, but then she had a heart condition, and she was still quite young, and she suddenly passed away. So we were sort of back to square one. Indie band doing it ourselves again. I mean, we're always doing it ourselves, but we thought we might be in with a bit of a shot there. But so, and apart from that, previous to that, we'd done the tours with Lamb of God, and then with Stone Sour, and then Stone Sour took us to the States, and then there was Slipknot and Machine Head, and since then there's been like Korn and things like that. So yeah, we just got really busy and spent most of our money touring, and so when it came to recording, we'd kind of run out of cash, and so it was one of those things we sort of decided to not have a hiatus, but have a hiatus from touring and try and just sort of play local shows and save the money so that we could record the album.
Now, when it comes to writing ideas, I mean, like I said, it was quite a number of years between, releases, and the fact that, life does get busy for some bands, especially ones that don't do it all the time, or at least a full-time sort of gig. Yeah. Were you always trying to refine a lot of the songs as well, or were they sort of just sitting on the back burner? I mean,
a little bit of both. The certain songs just never made the cut. I mean, I would say half of the songs we write end up just becoming B-sides that never get recorded properly, If you had the money, you'd go and record them, because some of them are great songs, but it's only sort of the cream of the crop that made it onto Reality Kicks, for example. But some songs did, they have changed, and then of course there's the things that happen, those magical things that happen when you're rehearsing them and jamming them and writing them, but then there's the magic that happens when you're recording them and mixing them, and so they change again, So there's been a bit of that as well.
Now, as we know, the scene worldwide is just in such a genreified state that there's just no escape from trying to create your own sound, because someone's going to put it in a box. Most of the average humans have to label everything in order for their pea-brains to digest a certain thing without letting it be what it is. Now, to me, Sydonia are an incredibly original band within the realm of heavy music, but I know a lot of people throw so many different genres at you. How do you define the band's music, even as a listener, once you've sort of stepped away from, recording the music? When you sit back, you hear your own music, what does it speak to you about? How does it feel?
I don't even know. I've heard things like post metal. Fag metal was a good one. Heavy alternative rock. It's really we touch in a lot of places, but I think we keep our own sound through it. I mean, at least that's our attempt. We don't want to stray from our sound, but we like to be able to do what we want.
It's almost like a damned if you do. If you, glom into a certain specific scene, you can't move from that. Whereas if you don't want to run with the pack and sort of run alone, you sometimes end up just running alone anyway. No one wants to come near you in that respect. I mean, is Sydonia a band that's willing to sort of step out and play with all different types of bands? Because musically you do quite stand alone within the Australian heavy music scene.
Yeah, I mean, and we have, and that's one nice thing about our music is we can play with pretty heavy bands, and we can kind of tailor our set so that people aren't going to get really bored and wander off or hate us completely. I mean, that's the attempt anyway. And we could also play with a lot softer bands, and we played at Woodford Folk Festival, for example, and just played all of our softer stuff and all of our tribal stuff, and we were really well received there as well. So it's nice to be able to tailor, but the ultimate is when you can play your own shows and you just play your whole sound, and you don't have to worry about what people are going to be thinking of you. Say it's the first or second time they've ever seen or heard your music.
Now, I've spoken to numerous bands, not even just in Australia, but outside of here as well, who talked about the sort of crowdfunding approach and campaigns and things like that. And I mean, you've been incredibly successful with the recent result of the crowd campaign for, setting up this tour. And there can always be such a fine line with those sort of campaigns. You get some people in uproar saying, I'm not going to pay such and such for their band or whatever. I mean, when it was raised amongst the band camp to go that approach, what were the rest of the members thinking about it? Because it can be such a fine line of, as the bottom line is, asking for money. What was your sort of approach, or everyone else's opinion and approach towards something like that when you decided to put the campaign together? Because it was incredibly successful. Was it beyond what you expected as well?
Yeah, we raised the $5,000 in 8 days, so we were ecstatic. And then we stretched it to $8,000, and then we raised that before the end of the Possible campaign as well. But it was not a matter of what we thought about it. It was a matter of we couldn't have actually done this tour at all. By the time we printed the album, we had no money left, zero. I think we had $300 left in the band account, and I used that to send out pre-sales and send out copies of the album to radio and magazines, and that was it. We maybe had $20, and none of us can afford really. I mean, three of us have kids, one of us is a single father, and we just don't have money personal money to throw in. So this was the only way we could actually tour the album, and people were really supportive. And the way also we approached it, we tried to make it kind of tour involved, make it interesting and involving for our fans. So, for example, some of the pledges, we have a whole bunch that we're doing tonight. One is we're dragging someone up on stage to give them a signed skateboard. Others were pieces of art to do with the artwork from the album or from old EPs, and like original pieces of art and prints. And other ones, we're dedications, like we're dedicating a song to people, etc. So it was things like that.
So to approach something like this, I guess for other bands, you got to make sure that it certainly involves the fans, as you've displayed, which will be this evening, that they have to make sure that they are getting something more than just helping you guys out to play the music live. I mean, there's been other examples I've seen other bands do it, are just incredibly creative, which really makes the fan want to be a part of it. So what do you suggest to other bands in Australia that are considering something like this?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I suppose, say you were going to try and fund an album, you'd want to give them a taste of that album first so that they know that it's going to be worth funding. Here's the single that we did, and this is how it sounds, and this is what we sound like, or something like that. And I guess, the more artistic and creative you can be with it, that would probably be better. I guess it also it matters, as to how passionate your fans are about your music as well. And it seems to be a good thing in the realm of kind of heavier music, and darker music, that people seem a lot more passionate about that kind of music than, say, people who listen to, I don't know, pop music, or just rock and roll. Rock and roll, people love their rock and roll, but they're not as deeply passionate about it. And that might be a generalization, but I've had people who play in rock and roll bands say that same thing. So, whether that's true or not is probably arguable, but that's the way it seems to roll to me anyway.
So after the tour, what are the sort of plans you're looking at? Possible international touring? I know we discussed earlier on about the involvement you had with the Colin Richardson and his late partner. I mean, is there other avenues that you're looking at exploring, especially with more sort of possible overseas touring as well?
Look, not at the moment, unless something happens, and unless our management is able to get us on a great tour over there or something, and then we'll reach for it. But we're not just going to go over there and tour off our own bat. I mean, we've only been there once with Stone Sour, and it was great and amazing. It was also very, very difficult and very costly. So it's I mean, we'd love to get back over to America or Europe, but it's one of those things where at the moment we couldn't afford it off our own bat, and we're not going to do it unless it's sort of really worthwhile, you know. So if something does come up, we'll leap at it. But for the moment, there's no plans, no.
Well, thanks for your time and thanks for joining us on Heavy at Home. We can get you to choose your favourite track off the album and also one of your favourite Sydonia tracks from the previous back catalogue.
Really? Okay. Gosh. Look, let's go with Elbow. It's one of my favourites, and for us, it's one of our heavier numbers on the new album. But I just really love the sound of it, the production of it. I love what Adam Kulitzis did with it. The guitars go really nice and wide just when they're supposed to, and Sean's drumming is exemplary. So maybe that, and then off the last album, maybe we'll go with No Woman's Land, because that was a song we weren't even originally going to record that on the album, and I was mucking around with like an electronic demo of it. D.W. Norton heard it and was like, you have to record that song. So we quickly put it together in the studio, and that was the song, you know, that Randy from Lamb of God fell in love with, and Jim from Slipknot and Stone Sour fell in love with. Like, that was the one that hooked them in. So that's probably worth having a play of as well.